Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know if Kickstarter is launching this week. We don't have too many games launching this week, so we're going to have a nice relaxed episode. So let's check out the Kickstarters. And the first campaign we have launches on August 17th and it's called Edge of Darkness, Emissaries of the Vale. And this is an expansion to the game Edge of Darkness, which plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 120 minutes to play. And this is designed by the designer John D. Clare, and he's a designer that's famous for incorporating card crafting into his games and making them a popular mechanism in modern board games. Some other games that he's designed that you might be familiar with are Space Base, Mystic Vale, Cubitos, and Dead Reckoning. And Edge of Darkness is a card crafting game with also worker placement elements. In this game, players are going to be running powerful guilds, competing for influence over the city, and players are going to be doing this by gaining points through a couple of ways. The first is going to be by defending the city from incoming attacks and monsters, and the second is going to be by gaining reputation, primarily through gaining wealth. The game is played over a prologue followed by 8 rounds, and during the prologue you're going to be drafting your hand of starter cards, and then each round after that players are going to be upgrading their cards using card crafting. And a neat mechanism in this game is that discarded cards can actually be used by other players, but when other players do use those powers they have to pay you money for those abilities. The cards you gain can also come with a number of threat tokens, and those threat tokens are going to end up getting dropped into a threat tower, and this is going to randomly distribute your tokens amongst 3 different areas, and when one of those areas fills up with a certain number of tokens, the card that's associated with that area will attack the players. And an attack could be on all the players or on a single player, depending on which colored cube showed up the most in that area. Playing cards can grant you special powers and resources, and players will also be training different agent workers to help them along the way, and you're going to be deploying those workers on different areas on the board to perform some special actions. Players are working competitively, but there might be some times where you need to work together to try and eliminate different threats, and you're going to be doing this by trying to eliminate certain threat cubes. But ideally you're going to want to try and eliminate your threat cubes before your opponents. Or players can try to take more of a direct approach and try to hunt the threats directly, which would eliminate their card and all the cubes on that card altogether. Successfully defending against these threats is going to gain you points. And this expansion is going to bring a bunch of new content, but it's also going to link the Edge of Darkness theme with the Mystic Vale theme, which is another popular game from John D. Sinclair. So players will actually be able to recruit help from the characters of Mystic Vale, and this expansion is also going to expand the available content with new locations, contacts, and threats that are all related to the theme of Mystic Vale. And this one's going to be my pick of the week, and the reason I'm picking this one is just because I think it looks like a really fun game. This one's by AEG, and they have a really good track record with a ton of games that I really love. And I actually really like the cube tower for this one. It kind of seemed gimmicky at first, but after I saw how the game played, I think it'll add a lot of tension and excitement as players see their cubes get distributed across the dice tower relative to their opponents. And it should add a bit of a push your luck element as players try to anticipate which threats they're likely to have to prepare for. This seems like a game I'd really like to own, but I also already have Dead Reckoning on the way, and it's by the same designer and also has a lot of the same elements. So I'll probably sit this one out, but who knows, maybe if I like this one better, I might end up selling my Dead Reckoning to grab this one. And it's always nice jumping into an expansion Kickstarter for a game that's already been released, because there's already a ton of content out there if you want to see how the game plays. And this campaign will be offering all of the previous content and Kickstarter exclusives from all of the previous campaigns. If this one sounds interesting to you, definitely go ahead and check it out. I have links to all these campaigns in the description below, and you can go ahead and click that notify button for the ones that most interest you. And the next campaign also launches on the 17th, and it's called Artefacts, and this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 45 to 240 minutes to play. And in this game, players are competing in an arena battle with their own machine BattleBot. And this one's really interesting for a couple reasons, and the reason that there's such a huge range in the playtime is that you can play this game in 2 different ways. Well, you can actually play it in a lot of different ways, but the 2 extremes are that you can play a game with a pre-made machine for a shorter game length, and in that case you're just jumping straight into the tournament mode where you're going to be fighting against another player, or you could play over the entire game where you're going to be building up your own machine from scratch and then playing in battles and then coming back adding more to your machine and then going back and forth through battle and building phases as you build up your machine stronger each time until a final winner is decided. And to build a machine you're going to be starting with a frame that starts with 4 cannons, and you're going to be adding different pieces to it to increase its attack, defense, movement directions, and the energy it has for those movements. you're also going to be able to add different resistances to different elements. This game really allows players to decide how complex they want the game because there are a ton of modules that all fit together and add layers and layers of complexity on top of the core elements of this game. And there's also these little hex tiles that can be included that will change the way that the arena operates, incorporating things like teleportation and other things that will completely change your strategy as you play the game. This is definitely a very ambitious game, and with all the different moving parts and modules that you can include, this kind of seems like a machine of its own, which really helps sell the theme. And if the game is actually a fun game, I think this is going to be one of those designs that just blows people away. This is a first-time designer and publisher, so unfortunately you are taking a bit of risk with this one, especially when it's an ambitious project. But they will be offering the game on Tabletop Simulator, which is really nice because you can just go ahead and try it and see if it's a game for you. I'm definitely really impressed with this one, and there are a few ratings under the ratings tab. I normally just go here to read the comments because you do have to take the ratings with a bit of a grain of salt, especially before a campaign starts. But I really do hope people like this one because I really love to see ambitious games like this that are doing something very unique, really succeed, and bring something new to the industry. And if you want to know more about how the game plays, Billy Indiana put out a really great video on his channel, and I'll leave a link to that right up here. Also on the 17th, we have Doomtown Weird West Edition, and this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 30 minutes to play. And this is going to be an entire new base set for the game Doomtown. And Doomtown is a 2-player competitive expandable card game with variants for multiplayer play as well. And in this game, players are going to be controlling one of 6 unique factions as they fight for dominance in the Old West. And if you're not familiar with what an expandable card game is, it's kind of like a trading card game, except for all cards are provided in the box, and all players have access to the same cards, so there's no individual card packs to buy or rare cards to try and find to get an edge on your opponents. And at the start of this game, each player is going to be building their own deck of about 52 cards, and there's going to be some restrictions on how you can build your deck. Cards are going to have different suits, and you're only allowed to have 4 cards of the same suit. Battles in this game are also resolved by trying to create the best poker hand, so you're also going to want to consider that as you're building your deck. Once you do that, players are going to choose one of the 6 factions, and they're going to choose an outfit representing their faction's overall strategy. Each round, players are going to be alternating playing their cards, and they're going to be trying to move their character cards onto the different deed cards to try and claim or steal ownership in order to gain its associated points. Players trying to go after the same deeds can cause shootouts in the game, where players are going to be trying to form the best poker hand, like I mentioned before, and the different cards that you have in play may allow you to draw more cards or redraw cards into your hand to try and improve your overall poker hand. And there's 2 types of points in the game. There's influence points and control points. And you're going to be gaining control points by controlling deeds, and if you ever have more control points than your opponent has influence points, then you win the game. This creates an interesting dynamic where you're trying to increase your control points to win the game, but then you also want to raise your influence points if your opponent is getting too close to winning. And this new base set is also going to include a few new modes of play, including co-op play, 1 versus many, and a solo mode. This is also going to include updated art and text across all the cards, and it's going to be completely rebalanced. And it's all going to be 100% compatible with the existing content already out there. This is another one that's been around, so you can find a lot of content out for it, and I'll leave a link to the Shut Up and Sit Down video right up here. Also on the 17th, we have Get Bit 2nd edition by Greater Than Games, and this is going to take about 20 minutes to play and plays 3 to 6 players. And this is a very simple party game that focuses primarily on a single mechanism of simultaneous action reveal, and players are going to be represented by their own little character mini that's going to have detachable parts. And the reason for this is players are going to be swimming in a straight line with a shark at the back. And whoever's left at the back at the end of a round is going to get bit by the shark. If you lose all your limbs, you're going to get eliminated from the game, and the person who's in front when there's only 2 players left wins the game. And each round, players are going to be revealing a single card, and higher cards are going to move you to the front of the line, while lower cards are going to move you to the back of the line. The only catch here is that if you tie with another player, then you don't move at all. And now you could go ahead and play the game because that's pretty much all there is to it. It's just a silly fun party game where players are going to be bluffing using simultaneous action reveal. I don't think the 2nd edition is going to be changing much to the rules, but it is going to offer completely new artwork and completely updated miniatures. There's not too much more info other than that, but I wouldn't be too surprised if there is a small expansion included to add a little bit of a variant to the game. And now on August 18th, we have Wild Serengeti, and this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 45 to 120 minutes to play. And this is a game where players are competing to capture the best footage for their own wildlife documentary. And this plays over 6 rounds, and in order to gain victory points, players are going to be competing to complete scene cards, which are going to require different animals to be arranged in a certain arrangement in a certain terrain type. And this one's going to be our Discord pick of the week, and not just for these beautiful animeeples. It looks like this is actually a really solid game. On a player's turn, they can perform actions to either place an animal of a certain type onto the board by placing their worker onto the associated action space, or they can instead choose to move an animal that's already on the board to a different space. If a player is able to arrange the animals in a specific terrain type to complete their scene cards, they're going to mark that scene card as completed, and completing scene cards grants you with a few different awards. You can either get straight up points, or you can get a number of resources. There's 2 types of resources you can have. You can either get food, which will allow you to move an animal up to 1 space, or you can get special effects tokens that allow players to ignore the terrain condition on their scene cards. Scene cards can also offer different icons, which gain you continuous benefits throughout the entire game. The game also comes with this really neat 3D board, but this just tracks the rounds for the game, but it is important to note that different rounds will offer different scoring opportunities and trigger different scoring phases throughout the game. And at the end of the game, the player with the most points wins the game, and just like all these other campaigns, you can find links to this one in the description below. Also on the 18th, we have Pretty Princess Pomelo, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play. And this is another combat card game. But this one has a really interesting twist because you're actually going to be playing as good versus evil, but you don't actually start the game with a specific faction or set of characters. You're actually going to be building up your characters as you play the game. And the win condition for this game is to control the citrine hearts, but then also have a full team of either heroes or villains. Players are going to start with just 1 character card, 2 story cards which grant special abilities, and then 3 power cards which add more power to your characters. And all these cards are going to be in different decks separated on the table, and on a player's turn they can draw up to 2 cards from any combination of the decks. Players can then play any combination of story and power cards, and they can activate their character abilities and attack another player. Different cards will modify your star power and heart power, but if you are attacking another player and your star power is stronger than their heart power, then you win the battle. At the start of the game, winning a battle gains you a piece of a citrine heart, but as the game goes on, you're going to have to defeat the players that own those citrine hearts in order to get that piece of the heart. The game continues like this until someone satisfies the win conditions, but you may also want to take advantage of your anytime cards that can be played anytime, and you're going to want to use those strategically to try and immediately stop someone who's about to win the game, or try to use them for your own advantage to rush to the win condition. And the last game we have launches on August 20th, and it's called Motif, and this plays 2 players and takes 10 to 30 minutes to play. And this is an abstract strategy game that has a very interesting and unique board. And this board has some really interesting rotating 3-sided tiles. It's going to be neutral white on one side, and then there's the gold to match the gold player and a black side to match the black player. And the game always begins with an empty board, and on your turn you're going to be able to add one of your tokens to the board, and then you're also going to be able to move all your tokens on the board, but there are some restrictions to the movements and how that works. I couldn't find the exact details on that, but it sounds like you're only able to move around certain other tokens. As you move your tokens, you rotate the tiles to your color, and then players are going to alternate turns like this, repeating that process. And once all the white tiles have been rotated to a color, the game ends, and the player with the most of their color wins the game. This is another game that's very simple to teach, but I would expect that it also has a lot of room for strategy and to improve on the game the more that you play it. It's always good to take note of these chunky cardboard-less games because you can play them pretty much anywhere. You could play them on the beach, you could play them camping, or you could play them under the sea. And that's it for this week, but don't leave yet because we do have a giveaway, and this one's going to be a redraw for a giveaway that we already completed, but the winner graciously decided to pass on the free pledge and just asked me to redraw it for someone else to enjoy. And I've already explained this game multiple times in previous episodes, so I'm not going to dig into it too deep, but this is a very versatile dungeon crawler game that uses an app, and the app offers all sorts of different adventures, so you can have a very different experience every time you play. Components will have a QR code and you'll be able to scan them, and the app will be able to determine the outcome of certain events based on the components that you scan. They're always adding new adventures to the app, so even if you played everything that they have to offer, you could always pull it out a few months later and have something completely new. And this is going to be for the Adventure Pledge, which comes with the core game and all unlocked stretch goals. And to enter this giveaway, just leave a comment down below and tell me something that you would love to have more of. For me, it's 2:30 a.m. right now and I still have to edit, so I would just love some more time or some more beer. This is the only giveaway I have this week, so there's no need for a hashtag, so just leave a comment and all comments will get entered. Now let's go ahead and draw the winners for last week's giveaways, and the first one we had was for Chili Mafia. And to draw a winner, I used this YouTube comment picker application here, and all these extra names down here are bonus entries for my Patreon subscribers. If you like this sort of content and you want to help out the channel, definitely check that out. I really appreciate the support and also get to see some really nice extra bonus entries into these giveaways. So let's go ahead and draw those comments and draw a winner. And the winner is Michael Mueller. Congratulations, Michael. I'll reach out to you and let you know that you won yourself a pledge for Chili Mafia. And the next giveaway we had was for Lands of Galzyr. So let's go ahead and draw those comments. And draw a winner. And the winner is Brandon Oglesby. Brandon Oglesby. Congratulations, Brandon Oglesby. Just reach out to me at adam@shelfclutter.com and we'll get that pledge all sorted out. And the last pledge we had was for a copy of Legend Academy. And this is one that I backed. All these giveaways are awesome, but I'm super pumped for anyone who wins this. So let's go ahead and draw those comments. And draw the winner. I made a mistake. So let's go ahead and draw those comments. And draw a winner. And the winner is Sean Gildersleeve. Congratulations, Sean. Looks like Friday the 13th is your lucky day. Just email me at adam@shelfclutter.com and we'll get that pledge all sorted out. And that's it for this week. Until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.